It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Rose, answer. Yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Full Court Press. Here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan. Streaming online, 1069thefan.com, the 1069 The Fan mobile app. And you can find it afterwards on podcast. However you're listening, welcome to a Score Prediction Thursday. We'll be going over offense, defense, keys to the game, all the things I think are key for Utah State in their upcoming matchup against San Diego State. Coming off a bye, their opponent, San Diego State's coming off a bye, so expect two well-rested teams. Of course, San Diego State, they've had a couple of byes this week. They played Hawaii, so they played at Hawaii, so they get a couple of byes. Kind of like Utah State did last year. Utah State got 2 bye weeks. But the Aggies, their first bye week of the season. And it certainly helped. Blake Anderson, he talked a lot about how much it meant. I mean, in I don't think we ever got to play this clip from Blaine Spires, one of the defensive ends who's really started to improve the last few weeks. I think he didn't play as much early in the season, but it's been an integral part of the defensive and rotation. I think he started one of the last 2 games for the first time, but he talked about what it meant to rest up and all that. So we'll get to that in a second here. But a lot of different things we'll be going over today, starting with that. The whole first hour, we're going to be going over score predictions. I will excuse Eric Frandsen today. He's heading down south to St. George, but you will hear him several times today. He interviewed a couple of Utah State players. His audio will play today. Jaden Francois and Brock Lane were the 2 players that he caught up with on Tuesday. And then he also went ahead and recorded his score prediction. And last time when I was absent on a Thursday for a score prediction, I texted mine in, but Eric was able to record something before he left for St. George today. And so I'll play that later in the hour. That'll be his score prediction for the game. I listened to part of it beforehand, but I actually haven't listened to the whole thing. So I actually don't know what his score prediction is yet. So I was just checking to make sure that everything sounded good coming through the board. So I'll figure out alongside you guys. I'll go ahead and wait. Technically, I could listen to it during one of the breaks, but I'll hang with you guys, and we'll wait to hear what Eric's prediction is. I was laboring up until the moment I walked into the studio. In fact, in this studio, I finally wrote down my score prediction. I've been thinking, who am I going to predict to win? What do I think the score is going to be? I may even scribble it out once or twice, just talking about it through this hour. I have picked my winner, have predicted my score. I'll reserve the right to change it up until about 4:50. So later this hour, that's when I'll be giving my score prediction for this game. If you guys want to send yours in, feel free to jump in on the Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321. Do the Aggies get back on track this week? Do they end their 2-game losing streak? They managed to get to 3-3. They've dropped 2 straight games, 2 games that certainly felt were winnable. Felt like the Fresno State game was winnable, especially once that game started. Felt like there was a chance to win that game. Again, especially as the game went on. San Jose State felt more winnable pregame. Of course, once that game got along, it became obvious they weren't going to win. So kind of 2 opposite games where you felt like the Aggies were going to lose against Fresno State. Then when the game was played, felt like they should have won. San Jose State was a game that you felt like you should have won We were talking about before the game, and then during the game, they just got completely outplayed. So are we going to see something like that with this week? Because the Aggies are actually favored against San Jose State. I've seen lines about 2.5, 3 in favor of the Aggies, and they're on the road. So how's it going to go? Are they going to live up to being favored? It's something that odds makers have rarely done with the Aggies. They don't like favoring the Aggies in really any game. Even in games where it felt like the Aggies, maybe they should be favored. They tend not to be. Well, we'll be going over that. As I said, we'll also be playing some of the audio from Brock Lane, Jaden Francois, Brock Lane, the tight end, and Jaden Francois, who kind of took over that hybrid position. Used to call it a striker. Now they call it a Sam. There's a bunch of different terminology for it. But when Anthony Switzer moved to linebacker, Francois took over that spot. And so he's been playing there for a while. We'll also react to the Utah Jazz, their win over the Grizzlies. Kind of laid the smackdown on the Grizzlies. Got out to a big lead. I think it was 42-19 or something to that effect. I think toward the end of that first quarter, just absolutely rolling in that one. Pretty much everyone playing good in that one. Also, the Jazz and the Magic play tonight. They'll be matching up tonight. It'll be a back-to-back for the Jazz. So we'll kind of react to their most recent win, preview their next game, and then we'll potentially look at some surprises. Things we're seeing early in the NBA. We're about 5 games in for most teams. 4 or 5 games. What's surprising? What's not so surprising? All that. So, without further ado, let's get into Utah State against San Diego State. Want to start with just how much this bye week has meant for the Aggies. And I teased playing this Blaine Spires audio. It was him talking about being able to be rested for this game and what it's meant being able to get back on track as far as taking care of his body.
The bye week, like Cole said, came at not a better time. This the last 4 weeks of the season, not too much contact. So over the bye week, I took it serious on resting my body. Even on our days off, I stayed home, I relaxed, because your body is everything. You have to treat your body right. And it was getting to that point where every day in practice, I'm feeling it. During the game, I'm feeling a little bit. You got to play through it, but it's nothing like a fresh body. I'm able to move faster. I feel a lot better. I was able to work on some techniques, was able to get my feet back together. Just had time to do that, had time to get away from the game, get my mind clear, and, just get re-energized and refocused for this last stretch.
Yeah, so that's one player, his experience of this bye week. Just being able to be rested where it feels like they're completely new. There's more bounce in their step. Blaine Spires, he's talking about how every practice he's feeling the effects of just not having a rest, because football, full contact sport, hitting every day, all the time, it wears you down. It absolutely wears you down. Yeah, with how hard these guys are hitting constantly, every game, a lot of times in practice, and it's not always actual injuries. It's bumps and bruises, but bumps and bruises hurt. Every time you hit, hurts again, and that's what these guys are dealing with, and they're having to play through that where every hit hurts. Not just in the same way that every hit hurts normally. It's every hit hurts, stings. And that's what they're trying to recover from. Some guys are recovering from actual injuries. Guys like Josh Sturzer, Bronson Oliveo, Filipuli Alo, those are guys who right now are trying to return from actual injuries. There's other guys who are working their way back in from actual injuries. Cole Motes is only a week or two removed from returning to the lineup. There are other guys who have recently returned from actual injuries. But a lot of guys are like Blaine Spires, where they're playing. Bokesi Vakauta, he's another guy who's come back from injuries recently. But trying to rejuvenate themselves. And we'll see how much value there is in that. Because I know Blake Anderson emphasized it a lot. But how much is it going to help? Because Coach Anderson talked about over and over, every time he mentioned that, he would right alongside it say, it's not an excuse. Because a lot of other teams, they're also bumps and bruises, missing guys who aren't able to maybe play at 100% or even 90% because of injuries. Can they play effectively? There's a lot of things that the Aggies need to get right. And so let's start with the offense. And I feel like a broken record. When I started preparing for this, I started thinking, okay, this, and that. But it felt like these are things I've emphasized in my Monday cooldowns on this show, all the different, written and spoken content. Why to say the keys are running the ball and, yada, yada, yada. For me, I'll mix it up slightly. It is going to lean more on, offensive line stuff. But for me, when I look at the offense, and I look at the Aggies games this season, at the very least, you need to find some way of being able to consistently move the ball down the field and finish drives. Now, the best way the Aggies have been able to finish drives is with long passes. Setting up those long passes with either a long run, maybe a long pass, kind of depends. They gain yards in chunks. And there have been a lot of games where they've been able to reliably gain yards in chunks. Colorado State, James Madison, second half against UConn. A lot of the second half against Fresno State. A lot of these games, the Aggies have had a reliable means of getting a lot of yards, and they don't always have the run game. Against Colorado State, Fresno State, they had a lot of rushing yards. But they've also had games like James Madison and UConn where they didn't have a whole lot of yards. James Madison, they had 98 rushing yards, average 3.2 per carry. Against UConn, they had like 101 rushing yards, 3.2 yards per carry, identical yards per carry for both those games. But their offense, at least for stretches, for James Madison, it was, post first quarter, pretty much, and especially second half. In UConn, it was like entirely second half. But they were able to, without a solid running game, still find reliable means of getting tons of yards. That typically involved long passes. Jalen Royals, Terrell Vaughn, Colby Bowman, Micah Davis. Long passes to any one of those guys. Or in other games, like I said, Colorado State, tons of rushing yards. Yes, they also had a lot of passing yards. Those back-to-back 360-yard games for Cooper Legas. He also had 200-yard rushing from the team. And so they were balanced. And so we've seen a couple of different ways for the Aggies to have elite offenses. Now, ideally, you get the 600 yards via 200 yards rushing and 300 to 400 yards passing. That's the ideal. But the Aggies aren't completely reliant on the run game. You like to have it, and the offense is probably better for it. But the thing is, one or the other has to be working. Either you got to get consistent passing through long passes, chunk yardage, or a combination of run game, good play action. And the thing is, a lot of this still boils down to the offensive line. Because with the offensive line, if they're good in pass protection, then you're going to see McKay Hillstead or Cooper Legas throw for 300-plus yards. They have good enough wide receivers. They're both good enough quarterbacks that if the Aggies give their QBs time, they will sling the ball around, the field. They will find Jalen Royals for those long touchdown passes. They'll find Terrell Vaughn for some chunk yardage. Brock Lane will get involved. Colby Bowman or Micah Davis will catch a long pass. So the offensive line either needs to be elite in pass protection or really good in run blocking. The thing is, they've been iffy at both at times. They were iffy at both against San Jose State. And we'll see if, they're back to full health. Felipe Puliolo, the starting center, he may not be available. He was kind of questionable early in the week. He was limited in their first full practices coming back from the bye week. But I remember asking, I think it was me that asked about the offensive line, or maybe been somebody else. Blake Anderson was asked about the offensive line. And, the need to be able to block. This offensive line needs to be able to play up to its potential. And so here was Blake Anderson talking about the offensive line?
I think fatigue and injury, it kind of took its toll up front, maybe on both fronts to some degree. We got thrown around, tossed around, shoved around most of the night. But technically, we need to be better. I think we are healthier. We look better last night than we have in quite a while, just physically. We've got to cover bodies up. We've got to give ourselves a chance to push the ball downfield. We've got too good of weapons outside to struggle as much as we did last Saturday in protection. I think some of that was guys playing through injury. Some of that was us struggling with the movements that we saw. Some of it was just we didn't have a good night, and it showed up front. So we need to solidify that front. Hopefully we can. We need to play more consistently, and that's something I hope we can do as well. We need to be more balanced. We struggled. We were second and long all night long, and we're not very efficient on early downs. That would be helpful to get off to good starts on drives and stay ahead of the chains and being more second and manageable so we can be way more balanced than we were. It's all the above, man. We've got to play better everywhere, not just those guys. They struggled, but a lot of people struggled last Saturday.
Yeah, so a lot of people did struggle, but the offensive line is just key. That's where a lot of this is beginning and ending. The games where Utah State's offensive line is played well, pass protected well enough. I don't know if they've ever had an elite game pass blocking, but they've had games where they pass block enough. They run block enough. In those games, the Aggies have been elite on offense. Need to see that again. Because that's the key, and that was something that preseason I was worried about. It's like, quarterback felt like they were fine. I know Cooper Legas started off bad, but Cooper Legas, McKay Hillstead, they're performing about as well as I was hoping the quarterbacks would do. The wide receivers, they're performing up to, and probably exceeding the expectations. We thought this was going to be a good group. Turns out they're better than even we thought they were, and we were kind of hyping them up. The running backs, they're better than we were hoping. And that was another group that we were kind of excited about, and they've been as good as we hoped and probably a little bit better. So all of them, they're doing their part. And the offensive line, it's where I was worried. Had some experience coming back, but it was a lot of guys who hadn't started a ton of games, had struggled to win jobs. There were unproven guys coming in via transfers. It was just like, I don't know what it's going to be like. It was kind of mediocre last year. The offensive line struggled last year. And a lot of these guys were the backups to the guys who played last year. And they've been inconsistent. So the offensive line, if they play, they're unlocking this offense. Because as Blake Anderson was talking about, you got two good weapons on the outside. Running backs are too good in the backfield. Quarterbacks are good enough to make all the plays. If they have the time, if the running backs can get the lanes to run in. You've got some great weapons, but if the offensive line isn't doing its part, this offense isn't going anywhere. And, it's why I talk about this. There's going to be more talk about who plays quarterback in this game. We're going to talk about it afterward. It's going to get talked about during the game. It's going to get talked about after the game in the press conference. And as I said, we'll talk about it on Monday. That's going to be a topic of discussion, especially if they play good and especially if they play bad. Like, if whoever starts a quarterback does terrible, it's going to be quite the talking point. Whoever it is, Hillstead or Legas. But as much as I think that can be important, I've said it already a couple of times this segment, I don't really think it matters who ends up starting at quarterback. I know there's some ardent Cooper Legas defenders. I know there's a lot of people who like McKay Hillstead's potential. And I know for me, I've kind of flipped off of, really liking McKay Hillstead and thinking that he was definitely the future to maybe we should stay with Legas. After seeing Cooper Legas for a few weeks and then seeing McKay Hillstead's performance last week. But I honestly don't think it matters. They're both good enough that if they have the time, they will make the plays necessary. We've seen both of them do it. We've seen McKay Hillstead make the plays to win because he's never won a game as the starting quarterback of the Aggies. but we've seen him make enough of the big plays, the same ones that Cooper Legal would end up making, where he ends up winning some games. So whoever starts at quarterback, give him time, and they should be able to win the game for the Aggies. There's enough talent around everybody. Just give the quarterback time. Wide receivers will be in position. Running backs will run. There's obviously going to be a key with the defense. We're going to talk about the defense in a minute here. Changes they need to make. Things they need to be better at. Ways they're going to have to stop San Diego State. And I'm not guaranteeing that they stop San Diego State. Be nice if they did. But I think this offense, they've tended to drive wins. The Colorado State win, you get 44 points. Idaho State, you get the 78 points. UConn getting the 34 points. The offense has driven a lot of wins, whereas, as Colorado State's like the one game where the defense definitely was contributing. Where they hold Colorado State to, was it 24, 28 points? Yeah, 24 points. So we'll see. The offense needs to play well. It's going to start with the offensive line. It's probably going to end with the offensive line. It's not going to come down to whoever's playing quarterback. But we'll see. And we'll talk about some keys that involve the quarterback. We'll have some keys to the game, and it's going to involve turnovers and things like that. That's something that Blake Anderson's, that's his number one thing with who starts at quarterback, who's not going to turn the ball over. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But coming up immediately next, following this break we're about to take, we'll talk about the Utah State defense. What are the keys for them going up against San Diego State? This is an Aztec offense that's averaged 19.6 points per game. Can the Aggies finally hold a team below 3 touchdowns? Find out coming. Well, you won't find out coming up next. You'll hear my take on that coming up next here on the Full Court Press, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
Fall is here. This is Mark at the Sportsman on Main Street. I invite you into our amazing store to see the new fall collection of amazing clothing, shoes, and outerwear for women and men. We have brands like Cool, Fiore, Fjallraven, and we have brought in some new brands from Europe that you will love. Trust me, you will look truly unique in whatever you buy from the Sportsman. Come in and let us take care of you. You'll be glad you did. For over 75 years, come and see us at the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan with tons of parking in the back.
Advanced Heating and AC and Advanced Fireplace and Stove want to help local families this year with a food drive. Drop off your canned foods at Advanced Heating across from DI or hand them to one of their technicians when they come to your home for a repair. And to say thank you, the Advanced team will match all your contributions and offer a 20% discount on your next service call. Find out more at AdvancedFireplaceandStove.com or call 752-7272. Donate to Advanced Fireplace and Stove's canned food drive for local families.
We're not comfortable until you are. Advanced Heating and Air.
Adams Wealth Advisors is proud to announce that they've been named as one of the best financial advisory firms in the country by USA Today. Start maximizing your wealth potential with a team of experienced advisors who specialize in working with high net worth individuals. Let Adams Wealth Advisors help you achieve your financial goals with a personalized approach to investment management and planning. For more information on how Adams Wealth Advisors can help you achieve your financial goals, go to adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com.
This is Justin Hamilton from Cafe Sabor and Off-Premise Catering. The holidays can be so hectic. That's why I'm so excited to make your holiday catering so simple. Maybe it's a last-minute holiday office lunch, family get-together, or corporate party. I can handle any size gathering with my off-premise catering team. You'll love Cafe Sabor's favorites are Hamilton Steak and Seafood, prime rib, salmon, and all the trimmings. The menu is up to you. Let my off-premise catering team handle your last-minute holiday events at your office, home, Cafe Sabor, or one of our many banquet facilities. Call 755-9500. That's 755-9500. Happy holidays from your friends at Cafe Sabor and your off-premise catering team.
It's a year-end side-by-side clearance sale at Cash Honda Yamaha. Big factory rebates combined with additional dealer money will save you $500 to $4,000 off sticker price on most in-stock 2023 Yamaha and Honda side-by-sides. Today is the day to buy that new Yamaha or Honda side-by-side. $500 to $4,000 off sticker price means the best prices of the year. Financing options available too. These deals are limited to inventory on hand, so check it out today at Cash Honda Yamaha on North Main at the Light in Hyde Park. Mark.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a fall tip for your yard.
With a cooler summer and rain in the fall, lawns are looking good. Don't skip the last fertilizer application of the season. In fact, the fall application may be the most important of all. It's the one that gets your lawn through the winter and off to a great start in the spring. Call the lawn doctor at 753-LAWN and let's get your winter fertilizer application scheduled.
For a better-looking lawn next spring, call Lawn Doctor for your last lawn treatment of the season. Call 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCashValley.com.
You can feel the holidays are near. Get your appliances repaired and ready. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. Save $15 off your appliance repair for a limited time. Find the coupon on our website. Did you know Daryl's service is risk-free? If you decide to buy new, instead, you can apply your service call to your purchase. Only at Daryl's. See store for details. Get the best in appliance repair at Daryl's. Your first and last call. Find us west on Airport Road. Open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
Sunday on the Las Vegas Raiders Radio Network, the Silver and Black play host to the New York Giants. Hi, this is Tim Cates. Join Jason Horowitz and Lincoln Kennedy for all the action. After a Monday night loss in Detroit, Jimmy Garoppolo and the Raiders are looking to get back on track against the 2-win New York Giants, who are hoping to get a spark with the return of quarterback Daniel Jones. It's the Raiders and Giants from Las Vegas. If it's the NFL, it's right here.
Kickoff begins at 2:25 on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker with you here. You'll get to hear from Eric Frandsen a little bit later in the show. His score prediction, my score prediction, what we think is going to happen on Saturday between the 3-5 Aztecs and the 3-5 Aggies. It's going to be an interesting game. The Aztecs struggling for the first time in a while. It's a team that prides itself on, as you know, a university that prides itself on being the best team in terms of a combination of football and basketball success. I mean, every Aztec fan has a screenshot of some graphic where the Aztecs are at the top of all Division I programs in combined football and basketball win percentage. You post it all the time. It's like, this is why we get into the Pac-12, because we're winning this program in football and basketball. Now they're 3-5 in football. Their most recent outing, a 6-0 loss to Nevada, a team that hadn't won in 16 straight contests. And yeah, it was a little awkward for Brady Hoke in his press conference. We played that audio yesterday just to kind of display where this program is in terms of the frustration with what this team is right now. We go into the Full Court Press text line. If you guys want to join in, send in your score predictions. Me and Eric will have ours later in the hour. If you guys want to join in, 435-339-0321. 9315 coming in with several different texts here. So I think the O-line matters more than who starts at quarterback. If they play great, then we should survive with the win. I think if the defense can shut down the run, we make San Diego State come out there with a goose egg on their head. But if they don't, I still think we win if they don't stop the run. Then 9-5 gives a score prediction. USU 27, San Diego State 0 if we stop the run. Or USU 27, San Diego State 24 if we don't stop the run. And I think that's a fair breakdown, because stopping the run is going to be, I talked about it as one of the biggest keys for the Aggies going forward. It's the one thing they've pretty much not done really since Iowa. That was probably the last time that they, I guess Colorado State, because the thing is that you look at their 3 games in terms of stopping the run. Iowa, it's kind of a bad offense, but it's a Power 5 offense. And they've been a lot better running the ball since that game. The Aggies held them to 88 rushing yards. They held Idaho State to, I think, below 100 or maybe just over 100. But Idaho State barely ran the ball. Colorado State barely ran the ball. And so, the teams the Aggies have slowed down have been either bad teams or teams that haven't even tried to run the ball. So the Aggies need to find a way to stop the run against anybody who actually tries and is half decent at it. And San Diego State tries and is half decent at running the ball. They rank, I think, 77th it was in rushing yards per game, which is average, slightly below average, since there's 133, I think, FBS teams. I think 130 are ranked on NCAA their rankings. So Aztecs are average, but so is San Jose State. Fresno State was below average, and they piled up 153 rushing yards. But in talking about stopping the run, it's interesting because when you have Fresno State running the ball effectively, 150 rushing yards, not an elite, but that's a decent outing for rushing. San Jose State, 251. UConn, 218 rushing yards. But with all those games, UConn was able to get some chunk plays through the air. Fresno State, getting chunk plays through the air. San Jose State, chunk plays through the air. They were all having good to even great days rushing, but they were getting some chunk plays through the pass. It's how they were converting a lot of their first downs. Fresno State and San Jose State converted combined between them, they converted 18 out of 30 third downs. A lot of those were through passes. San Diego State can't necessarily do that as well. They're a team that really struggles in passing the ball. Jalen Maiden is not a great passing quarterback. So if the Aggies don't shut down the run, as long as their offense is doing well, funnily enough, despite all that I've said about stopping the run, the Aggies could actually afford to give up a 200-yard rushing game. But that's only if they pretty much essentially shut down San Diego State's passing offense, which is possible. Utah State's pass defense is very much up for the challenge against stopping Jalen Maiden from passing the ball. But I do have one kind of exception to that, because when I was looking at Utah State's defense, there were kind of two things I wanted to see. And that is, don't let Jalen Maiden be effective when he drops back to pass. And I kind of cut it off there specifically because there's two ways that he can be successful dropping back to pass. He can either pass or he can scramble. And he's better at scrambling than he is passing. He leads the team in rushing yards. He's got 400 rushing yards total. He averages 4.6 yards per carry. And that's including all the sacks he's taken this year. He's taken a lot of sacks, and he still averages 4.6 yards per carry. That's pretty scary. This is a guy who will get out there and run. And so the Aggies need to make sure that he's not effective when he drops back to pass. When they do dropbacks, they cannot let him gain chunk yards, either with his legs or with his arm. Either one. They let UConn's quarterback, Taquan Roberson, where he was completing 50% of his passes on the year, completes 75 against the Aggies. Was also decently effective, moving the ball with his legs. Not a ton of yards. I think the Aggies got a couple of sacks, which hurt his rushing, because I think he only had 18 rushing yards total, but was able to move the ball at times with his legs. The Aggies need to find a way to make sure that Maiden doesn't hurt them with his legs. Blake Anderson was asked about, stopping Jalen Maiden, especially given the fact that the Aggies couldn't stop Chevan Cordero, where he was constantly moving the chains with his legs. Where Cordero, I don't think he had very many rushing yards, as far as total rushing yards. I think he was at 48 or something like that. But he had several first downs with his legs, which really hurt. So here's Blake Anderson talking about stopping the running quarterback.
He likes to use his legs and is going to. And so that's key. If you got a spy, the spy's got to be able to get him on the ground. If you're not going to spy, you got to condense the lanes where he can't step through, all the above. I know it's obviously it's a very generic answer, but man, we got to play better, play with better energy, which we didn't. We've got to make them uncomfortable by attacking the pocket and reduce the lanes, either by putting people in those gaps or have a spy ready to get him on the ground if he does escape. Hopefully make him uncomfortable, or those options aren't available. And we've done that at times, but not consistently all season, and definitely not last Saturday.
Yeah, so, talking about how it feels like a simple game plan to say, all right, put a spy on him. If you don't put a spy, then you obviously talk about closing the lanes, don't let the defensive ends go too far upfield because then there's an open lane for the quarterback to step up, or between the guards and tackles and just get out and run. And then if you have no spy, then you're kind of screwed with how many yards a rushing quarterback can get. So there's a couple of different ways there. And it is pretty simple. But simple is kind of what this defense needs now. And Blake Andrews talked about that as well. Being able to get some confidence in these guys. One thing that we talked about preseason is that we were hearing from Joe Cawthon's defense that it was fairly complicated. I think maybe they're potentially looking to dial that back a little bit. Because here's what I believe this is one about Blake Anderson just talking about some of the things they need to do a little bit better as a defensively as a whole.
We struggled to hold point the other day like we'd like. I think physically, some guys have played a lot of snaps, and I thought fatigue set in there as well. We didn't chase the ball and really rally to the ball like we had in previous games. Our inexperience showed a good bit. The conversations this last week defensively with Joe, and we agreed, simplify, give our guys confidence, and let guys really fly to the ball. We've got to be more physical up front. We know that. That has been something we've talked about all year. It's not going to change overnight. So if we know the matchups are not going to be in our favor, how do we create those opportunities? We've done it at times this year, either through pressure or through movement or both. And we got to find a way to do that down the stretch to take some pressure off the back end, to get people off schedule. What those specifics look like, that's in Joe's court. But conversations, simplify, allow guys to play with confidence, freshen them up, healthy them up, where guys can fly to the ball. That's when we're at our best, and be willing to get in guys' face and mix it up. Just did not do that effectively last Saturday, but we have done it at times this year, and so finding that is really, really important.
Yeah, there's a lot in that quote about, simplifying the defense, about playing physical. And when they don't have the matchups, we've talked about this several times, where the Aggies don't seem to have the physicality, the size, and athleticism to match up with all the opponents they have to face. And, as Anderson said, that's not going to magically change this season. They got to try and find a way to get to a bowl game and win games despite that. So they got to find ways. How do you create pressure? Be creative on defense. And we'll see what the Aggies do. We'll see how they adjust. Can they find ways, they're a little more healthy, so maybe they can play a little more physical, but can they find ways to be effective even if they aren't the biggest, most physical team? And it's not going to be easy in this one. San Diego State tends to be big, physical guys. So, don't know how that's going to play out. The defense has the most room to grow. The offense has at least been elite at times. The defense has struggled to ever be elite. Colorado State's the closest we've come. But they're going to need to step up in a big way. We're going to take another break. We've had a few texts come in. Want to get to those texts on the Full Court Press text line. But we'll take a break here. We'll be back after this on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.
It's that first kiss, that moment in time.
This is Jarek from Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Everyone knows us as an engagement ring store, but not everyone knows about everything else we do. Custom design, our in-house laser jewelry repair. We offer fashion jewelry, charm bracelets, necklaces, earrings, birthstone jewelry, watches. We love people to just look and make a wish list. Stop in and say hi.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special. Make it Jarek's.
Do you have a backup generator, or have you explored the options of adding one to your home? Generac backup generators will keep your home or business safe and cool during the summer months if the power goes out. Do you already have a system? Golden Spike Electric can service it for you. If you don't have one, Golden Spike Electric can find the right model for your needs. Find them online at gsegenerators.com or call 435-257-3016. Golden Spike Electric and Generac, power you can count on.
Les Olson IT's structured cabling is second to none. Tired of old and inefficient cabling? Have an upgrade or remodel planned? Building a new network from the ground up? We offer the very best in low-voltage cabling installation, including data, phone, fiber optic, and more. Ask us how to get your free consultation today.
Les Olsen IT.
When a friend or loved one is hurt, you want to help them. If your loved one was injured because of someone else's negligent or careless driving, help them by telling them to call the Advocates, now with offices in Cache Valley. We don't charge for the consultation or any meeting after, and you will pay nothing out of pocket while we fight for the settlement your loved one deserves. We only get paid if you do. Call the Advocates today at 801-355-5550 or chat online at utahadvocates.com. Your loved ones deserve an advocate.
This is Nate Lamson with Valley Office Systems, your home team when local matters. Valley Office Systems is your local provider for all things office, copiers, printers, furniture, and document management. Proudly serving Cache Valley since 2007. Visit valleyofficesystems.com.
If you think you're too young to worry about heart disease, think again. I'm Essence Harris, and I was 30 when an angiogram found a 90% blockage in 2 arteries. Now I'm asking all women to take control of their heart health. Exercise, eat a heart-healthy diet, and above all, listen to your body. Learn more at womenheart.org.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the U.S., 19 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you have someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com. Home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. MatchingDonors.com.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker. You'll hear from Eric Frandsen in a moment. We'll have our score predictions. He was able to record his analysis and his score prediction earlier today. Want to get some of your texts before we get to that, though. If you guys want to join the show, 435-339-0321. I've actually got a text about the World Series, 972. Dang it, I started reading the guy's full phone number. 5860. Sorry. That's not his. I didn't read out his full phone number. Sorry about that. Skipped a few numbers. Said, growing up in Dallas, we never thought the Rangers ever had a chance. So cool to see them win. I went to work wearing a Rangers jersey and batting helmet. People asked me why I was wearing a hard hat. Well, good times. So, yeah. It was nice to see the Rangers getting their first World Series win. Sorry, 5860. I read about 2/3 of your phone number over public radio. Sorry about that. But, yeah. Getting new teams to win championships, I always like to see that. I want to see the Jazz eventually get theirs, but obviously seeing the hometown team, finally get the win there. I'm sure Texas Rangers fans, especially those back-to-back World Series appearances, early 2010s. I'm sure it's a wonderful feeling. 8968 texting and saying, I still think that it's too bad that San Diego State didn't get into the Pac-2, making it the Pac-3. Yeah, San Diego State, they were really trying to push for that Pac-12 bid. Didn't quite get it. Still may get into the Pac-12 or something like the Pac-12. We're still waiting on what the heck's going to happen with the Pac-12 or the Pac for the remnants. Oregon State, Washington State. We'll figure out what's going on with them. They're still doing lawsuits and injunctions and legalese and all that stuff. But it was kind of funny that San Diego State and that whole debacle, trying to leave but not really leaving. All that stuff. 9310, testing and saying, I'm worried about the team not getting ready to go this week. A long bye, coming off a bad loss, and we're on the road again. And that being on the road is my biggest concern. The Aggies, like everything for me, like matchup-wise and numbers-wise, says the Aggies probably should win. But playing on the road, they don't play like the team that the numbers suggest. They're a completely different team on the road. Are they going to turn that around? We'll see. But I want to go to Eric Frandsen, his score predictions. He was able to pre-record this earlier today. So let's hear from Eric, his predictions for this game between Utah State and San Diego State.
Okay, Jason, so on our prediction Thursday, here's my prediction for Utah State at San Diego State. So as we've been talking about, these two teams have a lot of similarities with the schedule that they've had, with the struggles that they have had. I think, though, that Utah State, it's been more evident that the Aggies have been more competitive in their games than the Aztecs have been. I think San Diego State traditionally is known for really solid defense, pretty good running, occasionally dynamic in special teams. And I think what's been true this year is that they're still okay in special teams. They're not particularly dynamic on offense. They've got a good quarterback, as we've talked about, who can run the ball. Not the biggest arm, but he's mobile, and he can be problematic, and that's been an issue for the Aggies so far this season. Both teams are rested. Both teams had a bye week last week. But after visiting the Utah State practice field earlier this week, it's obvious this team is rejuvenated. They've got a lot more energy. They're anxious. Now, both teams lost in embarrassing ways in their last game before the bye week. Both teams are going to be anxious to try to prove they are better than what their record says they are. But the difference is the Utah State offense. Before I give my score prediction, some of the keys from me about how I think this game should go and what's going to be important for Utah State to hit on to give themselves a chance to win. And I think the first one is protect the quarterback. Really big problem against San Jose last outing for the Aggies. I don't think it really would have mattered too much who the quarterback was, Cooper Legas or McKay Hillstead under center for Utah State. There was just way too much pressure coming after the quarterback. So they've got to give whomever it is more time in the pocket. And when they can do that, he's going to deliver. And that's going to give the Aggies a lot more chance to be successful and to sustain drives on Saturday night. I think the second one is that they have to be disruptive in the San Diego State run game. Now, a lot of times you'll hear people say, you have to stop the run. That's our key. And that seems to be a key every game, for every football game, everywhere in America. They want to say, stop the run. And that's true here, but I want to say be disruptive in the run game, in getting after San Diego State. Okay running backs, but it's primarily the quarterback. Keep contained and force him into a passing quarterback. That will make Utah State's life a lot easier if they can do that, particularly on first and second downs. Make them very uncomfortable on third down. That's one of the big keys as well. And then overall, I just think this has to be an all-hands-on-deck situation for Utah State, particularly on offense, from the running backs, from the wide receivers, from what's going on at the quarterback position. This has to be treated like a must-win game. If they want to get to a bowl game, this is a must-win game. You're going to be favored in this one. This is a team that's wounded and struggling. Something to watch out for, not to be overlooked, but you can't overlook the Aztecs, who are smarting after getting shut out against a previously winless Nevada team. An embarrassing loss on their home field against Nevada. So they're going to come out with some vigor to try to put that behind them, weather the storm, and have all hands on deck. And I think you'll be okay for Utah State, because I think the Utah State offense is much better than the San Diego State offense is. So the Aggies will give themselves a chance offensively to be in this game and to win it in the end. So overall, my final score prediction for how I think things are going to go down on Saturday on FS1, since the World Series are done, it'll be Utah State 28, San Diego State 24. Now, it probably could be a higher scoring game than that, but where both teams have some struggles, I don't feel confident giving it too much more. So if I were looking at the over-under for the total, for the combined score for the game, I'd probably take the under, because I think there's still issues that both teams are trying to work through. But in the end, I've got Utah State with the victory, getting themselves to 4 wins and putting themselves in a more comfortable position in trying to get to a bowl game.
So there you go. That's Eric Frandsen's prediction. It's got the Aggies winning this game. I'm going to take a quick break. Got a couple more texts that came across text line. I'll promise not to read off your full phone number. You'll have my score prediction coming up next here on the Full Court Press. Don't go away.
Holiday parties and events at the Riverwoods Conference Center offer a festive and fun holiday atmosphere. Paired with catering from Elements Restaurant, your special occasion can include tasty hors d'oeuvres, delicious entrees, and decadent desserts that always deliver excellence. Now accepting reservations for this holiday season. The Riverwoods Conference Center and Elements Restaurant easily accommodate large or small events. Visit theriverwoods.com or call 750-5151.
While you're doing whatever it is you do, we're testing, retesting, engineering, and re-engineering to keep up with you. We run together.
Your local Train dealer, JM Mechanical, has moved to 222 West 2850 North Logan, just north of Airport Road. Fast 24-hour heating service is available in Box Elder, Cache County, and Franklin County with a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
It's hard to stop a Train.
Barbecue Pit Stop is Cache Valley's favorite place to shop for barbecue supplies, a butcher shop, and advice. But Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it's their pre-Black Friday sale, their biggest sale of the year. Triggers are offered at warehouse sale prices with new triggers up to 45% off while supplies last. Plus, you get a free t-shirt, rub, and bag of pellets with the purchase of a grill. Enter into a drawing for other prizes. That's the Barbecue Pit Stop pre-Black Friday sale on 4th North in Logan. More information at bbqpitstoplogan.com.
Ooh, a brookie. I'll take 2 of those. What, a raspberry toaster tart? Yeah, 2 for me. How about...
There's something about a real good cookie.
Can't forget the classics. I'm thinking chocolate chip and...
People in Logan are getting dirty at Dirty Dough. Cookies beyond imagination. Find a location near you at dirtydough.com.
Life gets messy. It's better with a cookie.
Are you in need of excellent surgical care? Budge Clinic General Surgery offers the future of surgery with state-of-the-art robotic-assisted procedures. From cancer treatments to surgical needs, they've got you covered. Call Budge Clinic General Surgery today, 435-716-1950 to schedule a consultation and experience the best possible outcome. Trust Drs. Anderson, Marshall, McKenna, and Peterson, the experts at Budge Clinic General Surgery, helping people live the healthiest lives possible.
This is Detective Ditzel with the Logan City Police. Law enforcement agencies are seeing a spike in vehicle thefts this year. A large majority of these crimes were due to unlocked doors and keys being left inside. We encourage citizens to protect themselves and make sure your vehicle is locked, the keys have been removed, and nothing of value has been left inside. Also, with colder temperatures here, don't leave your vehicle warming in the garage or driveway unattended. This is a prime opportunity for thieves. Don't become a victim.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Your local Napa Auto Parts has what you need to have your car ready for winter. You can get more cranking power with the Napa Legend or AAA battery. You can clean your fuel injectors, carburetors, and help your entire fuel system run smoother and last longer with BG and Seafoam motor treatment. Find it all at Napa Auto Parts, ready to help at your 5 locally owned Preston to Providence locations. So I want to get to my score prediction. Read off a couple more texts real quick before I go to my score prediction. 7994. Score prediction: Aggies struggle on the road and collapse. Ike Larson shows up in a new shiny red truck. Aggies lose 28-0. Bit of a pessimistic take, but the Aggies are in a place where they need to prove they can win. They've not proven that they can win some of these coin flip games. 9315 says the San Diego State loss is way worse than Utah State loss, which is bad. Yeah, losing to Nevada was worse than Utah State losing to San Jose State. That's pretty obvious. So I want to get to my score prediction. Got a couple minutes here. And, Eric, we actually ended up mirroring a lot of what we thought our keys to the game. Like I said, I hadn't listened to the full audio. I'd listened to some of it. But I know we agree on a lot of things, the keys to the game. For me, though, I look at this game and I see an Aggie team that has struggled on the road. I think they can maybe do a little bit closer to what they did against UConn than what they did against Air Force or San Jose State. I don't think they're going to be completely inept, but I think they're going to struggle. Whoever's starting at quarterback, they're probably going to make mistakes. We've not seen McKay Hillstead or Cooper Lega. I think minus Cooper Lega's second half against UConn, that's about the only time we've seen mistake-free quarterback play out of either of these guys. That's one half out of, 8 games? So I think we're going to see some mistakes early. I don't think San Diego State's offense is going to dominate, but with Utah State mistakes, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the run. Don't know if they're going to stop Jalen Maiden from having a lot of rushing yards. I think this will be a close game, but I have the Aggies losing this one, 31-28. No, the Aztecs don't score a ton of points, but the Aggies don't hold teams to very few points. So I think this is going to be one where the Aggies end up losing. Like to be proven wrong. You know, Eric, he's actually perfect on the year, and his predictions are perfect or close to perfect. But we'll see. We differ on this one. I have the Aggies losing. Eric has them winning 28-24. We'll find out who's right Saturday. But that's going to do it for us this hour. We'll have some player audio next hour and some Utah Jazz talk.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. After the Rangers secured the team's first ever World Series title last night, the importance of an ownership group with deep pockets was made evident. Having an extensive payroll isn't the solution to everything, though. In order to be successful, you need to also spend that money wisely. The top 3 teams in payroll all failed to reach the playoffs. Yankees, Mets, and Padres. A loaded roster on paper doesn't win you games. It's how those players fit in as a group. Texas was the perfect example of that, losing a combined 196 games over the previous 2 seasons. But after a string of very smart moves, the Rangers became a force. They signed middle infielders Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, poached elite pitchers Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, signed veteran starter Nathan Eovaldi, and lured future Hall of Fame manager Bruce Bochy out of retirement. Can't deny that money played a large part, but the difference between Texas and New York this season was how the Rangers decided to spend it. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.